Welcome to the Crypto Podcast. You can find all my podcasts on roycollin.com. My next guest built a real estate empire generating over 1.4 billion, that's with a B, in sales, advised 4 billionaires on their wealth strategies, and now he's using blockchain technology to solve a problem that's quietly destroying more families than almost anything else. Dan Beech, please welcome to the Crypto Podcast.
Wow, thank you for that introduction. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation. I mean, you have an incredible career, it's unbelievable. So before we kind of delve into what you're doing now and helping people, you might kind of tell me a bit about your career.
I've been quite blessed and lucky. I think success is equal parts hard work, luck, and just kind of surrounding yourself with the right people, and it all kind of comes together at the right time. But I've been quite blessed to do a lot of really exciting stuff. Help a lot of people, and been met with some success along the way.
And you're also an author. It's Simple Wealth, I believe, is the book. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the real estate group, we had a big financial crash here in 2008. For maybe international listeners, really destroyed the real estate market.
I got caught in that a few years later. It kind of wiped me out. Yeah.
Created global, recession. So my son was born right at that same time, and I took a couple of years off just to kind of decompress. I'd spent 25 years building a business from scratch, and it was gone in about 7 months. So that was quite a blow to sort of recover from. And when I transitioned back, a buddy of mine had built a really vibrant boutique wealth management firm in Beverly Hills, and he needed some help. So that's where I got into the wealth management space. Did that for a really long time. He ended up retiring. I took over. So I learned a lot about the needs of very ultra high net worth investors, and ended up writing the book that you mentioned. So we were sort of talking about a lot of the techniques that we used in the firm, and continue to use some today still. And really our goal with the book was to take those very sort of advanced planning techniques and make them accessible for everyone else. So that's why the book is Insider Secrets for a high net worth wealth management firm.
Very good. So your new company that you've launched, what's it called, and what is it doing?
It's called Archively, and what we're doing is we're storing critical life documents online so that they are accessible when needed in an emergency, in moments of crisis. And we're building that on blockchain. The online document storage space is really just screaming for innovation. When the favorite example that I give people is, if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start a business, and you need some kind of a device that you're going to interact with customers, maybe send out order deliveries, take payments, whatever. You want the latest tech device, the latest iPhone, whatever it is, phone, to be able to do that. The last thought on your mind is to go to a first generation iPhone from 2007. But when people are building their estate plans and these critical documents for the end of their life or for an emergency situation, they're still using technology from 2007, the same year that the first generation iPhone was created. And so we've we've really just torn up that old playbook and reinvented using two blockchains actually. And so we're pretty excited about what we've built. Just launched in beta.
When I was doing the research on this, one of the things is what I love about when stuff is in blockchain technology, it can be deleted or edited. Because what I've seen over life, I've seen it happen a lot.
Yes.
When somebody passes, people edit the will and they do backhanders to the solicitors and everything. And people don't realize this happens till it happens them.
100%. Yeah. You never know when, like, think about it. I was actually just having the same discussion earlier today. Imagine your trust is 100 pages. You have the certification from the attorney that this was their, true and original copy. Maybe you even have it notarized. But what's stopping cousin Sally, who has, evil cousin Sally, from swapping out page 35, where now she gets the vacation house instead of brother Joe? There's nothing to prevent that. So that's one of the problems we're solving with blockchain, as you said. You can't alter it. If it's mirrored to 10,000, nodes, and they're all checking in with each other every hour to make sure that all the copies are the same. It's phenomenal. Permanent storage, unalterable.
And what is the patent pending technology about then?
So what we've done is, it's called Secure 3. And we've used sort of 3 layers multiple times. So when you as the user are uploading, storing your critical document, could be a trust, a will, a medical directive, something that has to be available. You're in a car crash, your dad's in a car crash, he's in the emergency room, the doctor can't proceed with saving his life without the medical directive. You need it now. You can't figure out, wait, where is that stored? Was it in the drawer? Is it in the safety deposit box? So any of those documents that you're uploading, what we do first is we encrypt the document. Then the encrypted document gets stored on the first blockchain. We take that hash location and we mint that as an NFT that's stored on the second blockchain. So the only thing that's visible in our system anywhere ever is that NFT address. So your document location is secure. And even if someone were to access that, it would be gibberish because it is encrypted. And so then we're using that as the base layer. And in the user dashboard, then you have 3 layers of how you could store the document. Emergency access, which is sort of the example I gave of a medical directive. Normal access, think your normal wills, trusts, things that would be needed to be available after you pass away. And then the third level of access is our third triple layer, which is something called Shamir's secret sharing, where we take the decrypt key, we delete it from our servers, it gets divided up into 5 pieces and sent to 5 different places that you tell us to send it. And that decrypt key can only be rebuilt with 3 out of the 5 pieces, and then your document is accessible. So that's our underlying technology. It's built on 3 layers of 3. Maybe I should call it Secure 9.
And like, as you're talking about that, because like what I'm seeing is, say in hospitals, because you mentioned, like if there was a crash, because I mean, these things happen and we have to be prepared. But what I'm seeing now as well is, because there's a lot of strange stuff happening in hospitals, and people now are getting documents to say, hey, I don't want to get certain vaccines or something like that, whatever it is, they actually state that. But the thing is, they're sending it off to the health department or something like that. And having something like that on your technology would be incredible, because you can just, whoever's there with you, or even yourself, if you're going in, you have the proof of this and you can send it to whoever. And is it like
Yes.
that when it's done then, and you need to send it to somebody to be printed and stuff like that? Is that the system that it can be done like that, or is it everything is you can only look at it on the screen?
Oh no. So um, let's take that's a great example. I'm glad you asked. So imagine it's the emergency access document. It could be a couple of things, right? It could be, you know, the example I just gave, dad got in a car crash. He's in critical condition. So we need the medical directive. But also, what about, his adult child with autism, right? There's maybe a power of attorney for who cares for this person while, just layers of complications. So when you as the user are uploading these emergency document, this category, you're setting who has access to these emergency documents. So when that's done, all of those people get notified in case there's a problem in the future. So when that moment happens, all they have to do is log into our site, identify who they're there for and who they are, the, the biometrics on their phone verify who they are, pass that authentication into the website, and they have access then to that document. And then they get the choice who they could send it off to. Are they emailing it to the hospital? Is it a text to the, to the doctor? Is it delivered in some other way? Or, is it just a link? So all forms of attachments. That link can also be set with a time limit or a passcode or something like that. So just maximum flexibility, either for the user in the moment. We wanted to be able to choose for speed or security, or somewhere in between. When the clock is ticking and someone's life is at stake, it has to be available then. And so that's another part of what we've done is, any web hosting can fail. So Archively is hosted on, reliable servers, but AWS goes down all the time in certain regions. Just maybe 2 months ago, we had Microsoft Outlook was down for 3 days here in the US. So, that no matter how big, the point is, no matter how big the hosting is, it has the potential to go down, and we can't have that in this environment where a life is at stake, for failing to have access to their document. So if our hosting we're constantly pinging our own website. So if our hosting is down for more than 5 minutes, the blockchain mirror automatically kicks in. And a blockchain website, or a website hosted on blockchain, operates more slowly than our preferred solution on like an AWS server. But at least it's available and it's there, and then it's a constant mirror. It's not a backup. It's a duplicate. So at least it'll swap off. So hopefully we're 0% downtime is our goal.
And I mean, that's incredible that that's the way you're operating, because even say with the NFTs, like a lot of people were thinking that the NFT was just a code. They didn't realize that it's actually the image is stored somewhere. And then if
Yeah.
because there is platforms that have disappeared as well, and so that is amazing trust to have. That's a brilliant system. I like that people can understand the way that it's done, because Amazon, some of that can go like anything can disappear. Like these giants, they do things. Then say the leader gets caught on some list or something like that. It can all change overnight. So this way, it's been totally protected, which is incredible.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we've spent uh, you know 2 years or so, really thinking about this, working with 16 estate planning attorneys. So, yeah, we feel like we've really dialed in a solution for as many scenarios as have sort of been presented to us. We're pretty excited about it, pretty happy about it.
Like I can actually see like the kind of sovereignty side of things as well being good, because what's happening is people are preparing a lot of documents for that, and they're tending to kind of bring it with them and have them for different scenarios that they've got. And it's a lot better if they, because people can kind of use Google Drive or Dropbox or stuff like that, but they're compromised, and like I mean at one stage there, I'm seriously censored with one of my podcasts, The Awakening, the one with the mask there, and I got removed from everything. YouTube channels removed. I've got Facebook channels removed. Everything. But one stage they took down my Gmail for a day or so, and then my authenticator didn't work for blockchain. And it's like that's scary when you're kind of looking at these things. And it's, so like you have to be like, a lot of times people think, I use Google, I use Chrome. It's convenient, but it's kind of like, who are the people behind the thing, and are you really protected? And it's very easy for something to just change overnight. So I love the system that you've created.
Yeah, thank you for calling that out. I mean, a recent history here in the US, we're seeing a lot of those sort of tech giants that were admired. People, that image is starting to change a little bit. People are starting to question more. Hey, I don't know if I trust my data to this or that place anymore. So it's really becoming more of a prominent concern. I'm glad you called that out.
So if we look at, say, the end user then, rather than a professional, like how easy is it is it they get their phone and they scan? What's the whole process for them to get their documentation up and then to get it in order? What's the process?
So what we've launched with now is the beta. So we have a really robust roadmap to build out over the next 12 months. And our hope is to, we have the roadmap, but everything that we're building, we want to build a solution to a problem that somebody has, right? We're not trying to just create something, create a solution in search of a problem. We want to sort of do that in reverse is our methodology. So our plan is to have the early adopter users help guide with their feedback our developmental roadmap. We have all the feature set that we feel is the most important, and we have the priorities that we've identified to build, second phase, third phase, and so on. But really the user feedback on how they want to do things, how they want to upload, would be really invaluable. But our intention is really just to make that as easy as possible. Some documents you can do only from a computer. Some documents would be available doing it from your phone. So say, for example, you had a trust document, and that needs to be paired with a certification from the attorney, or maybe that's notarized. So something like that can't just be a screenshot from your phone. So that those kind of documents would have to be uploaded from a computer, or maybe your attorney uploads for you into your account if you've set it up that way. If you're wanting to send a backup image of your passport, this one's a really important overlooked item for people that travel internationally, especially. That's something that you could use your phone.
I'm going to interject with that, because I was on holidays 2 years ago. I took my son around Spain. On the second day, the car was broken into, and they took everything. And unfortunately, we didn't have our passports on us because we were just looking. We weren't that far away, and I had we had our cameras or our phones. I had taken a picture of the passport, and if I hadn't that, it would have been it would have been very difficult. And I was at because I had to go to different ones. I had to go to Alicante for mine and Madrid for my sons. But there was people inside there, and they didn't have that. And you think the embassy would actually look after them? They don't care. They just want their money, and you can't prove that you're this person, even though everything's on computer. So that's a very important point that you're talking about there.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we're thinking about it at this point. Is some things really need to be from the PC or the laptop, but other things could be from the phone, which could also be video. So one of the enhancements that we're trying to go beyond just the concept of storing the documents is a video or audio attachment. And then this part would easily come from the phone, but we got so many stories of people who, one guy here in particular, here in Los Angeles, a really lovely family. The father had died, and they weren't fighting over assets. They weren't fighting over who got the rental property and who got the boat and who gets the. So there was none of that. But the family, they loved their dad and they wanted to honor his memory, but they couldn't decide how he would have wanted that. The sister thought he should be cremated and ashes, over the ocean, and the brother thought that he should be in a normal grave where they could all go visit, and they couldn't decide over the funeral. Should it be a celebration of life? Should it be a somber event? Who should be invited? Should it be family? Should it be? So they had all of this angst around this. Just if you could, if we could be so crass as to call it just logistical things, I'm talking about someone's life, but these details in the middle of their grief for losing their father, this was just one more thing that could have easily been solved by taking a video and uploading to Archively your farewell message to your family, your wishes of how you would like that to happen, or any other, message that you would want them to have. So we're combining phone and PC access, and hopefully doing it in a way that's not only solving all these legal issues, but helping the transition and solving some of the grief of who's left behind as well.
The thing is, a lot of people are afraid to have that conversation. I mean, I'm okay in my family. I know exactly, like, when my father passed 3 years ago, we know exactly what was, and like my mom, I know that I don't want her to pass for another 20, 30 years, but nobody knows, but I know exactly what to do. But people are afraid. But it's fantastic, that people can actually do that. And the thing is, well, is because of the way the world has changed so much, there's so many people have moved countries. And that becomes an issue then as well, because the loved one wants them there, and the parents or brother wants them in their place. And the best thing is you decide, because people actually even change what somebody's wishes were because they think they know better. And that's why families fall out and everything. Whereas it should be the wish of the person who honor what he wanted.
Yes, exactly right. You nailed it. There's another lady that we spoke to, also lives here in Los Angeles. She another family that was very tight knit. They weren't arguing over the assets. No one was going to probate court fighting over things. But the father had designated the oldest daughter to be the executor of the estate when he passed. So they knew that, and they knew sort of she was supposed to do that. But exactly what you're just describing, her brother thought things should be done differently. And here she was, not really wanting this role of executor of the estate and doing her best, trying to juggle all these things, but it ended up they didn't speak for 5 years. The brother and it just over something that could have been solved with the dad recording a video and leaving it to say exactly what his wishes were. But there's no solution for that, so he didn't and couldn't. So it happens all the time. And then if you imagine in a family dynamic where maybe there's been remarriages and stepkids and stuff, and there's not that tight knit feeling anymore. Now they're fighting, and there's all these other layers, and it's complicated, and there's not a good solution until now.
And that's the thing. I mean, like, I know that people like create the trust to avoid the probate, but like when something's gone through probate, it's like your assets are kind of tied up for sometimes 2 years, and then someone can come along and say, "Oh, you owe me 50,000, but you can't prove it because the person's dead," and then you have to defend yourself against, and people come out of the woodwork. The rats, they just start running. So it's brilliant to have everything documented exactly as you want, because there's even I've seen solicitors being corrupt, accountants being corrupt. When it comes to money, there's a high percentage of people that will do anything just to get it off you.
The attorneys get paid, by the hour to fight it out in probate court. So the length of time is affecting your family and your beneficiaries. It's not affecting the attorney in a negative way. It's affecting them in a positive way. So, yeah, all of that can have a real impact. There's another story around that issue too that we encountered. One of our estate planning attorneys that we work really closely with, he's in Florida, and this family, the husband did everything right. The estate plan was done. They had lots of assets. All of the accounts were listed and everything was documented perfectly. He passes away. All of that's great, but no one can find the trust. And so his widow now is stuck borrowing money from her family members because all their accounts are frozen because the banks were notified he's dead, so they freeze everything. They can't find the trust documents. So she goes this way. They have plenty of money, and she's struggling to get groceries. They just accidentally were looking for something else in their boat that's in the harbor and just happened to find the trust document in a drawer in the boat. Just got lucky. But for 3 months, the widow was left behind sort of struggling. So yeah, one of our favorite things of saying is the estate plans are not failing because of poor planning. The plan is in place. Where the estate plans fail is in the document access, and so that's the gap that we're trying to innovate around and solve this problem.
And I mean, like on the introduction, that you advised like 4 billion, they don't go through probate, like the way they organize everything. So there's a lot of trickery with the way the world is done, and I think just by heeding what you've just said is will save a lot of problems, because we all think we're going to live forever. And I mean, I don't know, I was like 26 when I did my first will, and you just don't know. And people are afraid to have the conversation, but don't you want to have everything?
Thing.
Yeah. But the best thing is, because it's always that you think you have everything, and like there's times where there's a fire and it destroys everything. I mean, like in California, there was fires that destroyed loads of houses, and you could say, "Hey, I've everything," and people say, "I have it in a safe." Yeah, but sometimes that doesn't. A fire doesn't stop that either, and sometimes people can come in and they can just take the safe, and it mightn't mean nothing to them. They can't do nothing, but they're not going to give it back. Yeah, they're going to dump it. So by having all your documentation secure, it makes a massive difference.
It's a great example. There's a lady I was talking to who lives in New Orleans. So that's sort of in the middle of the U.S. And she was using there's an at-home solution that it's like a little mini safe. It's fireproof, and it comes with pre-made little dividers for here's one for your will, here's where you put your trust, here's medical directives, POA and stuff. So she's using this as her solution with all of her documents. Again, the the failure isn't in the documents and in the planning. She lives in New Orleans, but her brother lives in Amsterdam and her sister lives in California. So this fireproof safe really solves no problems for her. What is, something happens to her, is her brother going to fly from Amsterdam just to have access? And how's he going to get into her apartment? And if he does he know where the box is? And if he finds the box, does he have the key to get into the box? So there's not a good solution. There really isn't. Yeah.
What about the seed? This is an interesting one because a lot of people on the crypto podcast, I'm always asking them about the seed phase because even when people pass on, because as I said, there's fraudulent solicitors. So if they know that you're worth a fortune, and they go, they can transfer. And then there's people saying, "Yeah, I give some here, I give another there, and others I'm burying it and everything." How could they use your system to protect their seed phrase without it being compromised?
We are storing in our wallet. So we have a company wallet. The user only has to log in with their own biometrics. So that's not going to get compromised. And the people that they designate as having access to the documents you're able to parse that by the person's age or the event that happens or amount of time. So say, for example, you could say, okay, I want my kids to have access to this particular document, but only once they turn 18. Or I want, my brother and my sister to have access to my financial records. This was a big one that pops up a lot, that that current cloud software doesn't solve. They wanted their brothers or sisters to have access to their financial information, but not while they were alive. They really didn't want brother to know how much money he had in his bank account, but okay, once he passes, right? So there's all those kind of triggers that we can put into place for who should have access and when it's appropriate for you as the user to upload those. And what we tried to build in, we're talking about years and decades of time. So all of those criteria that you may have said in the beginning could easily change or evolve over time. People's life change. You have falling out with relations, or you make up with relations, or kids get married. Maybe you want to change something, or divorces happen, or whatever. So one of the things that we've built in, this is one of the most elegant solutions that we're the most proud of, is we call it the heartbeat check-in. So when you're setting up your account, you as the user designate, I'm going to check in to validate that I'm still here, conscious and coherent. What a lot of people don't think about is they're thinking about the death event, but what about in between today and death? There's potentially just a slow decline into dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that, right? There's no mechanism for that. So our heartbeat solution, you as the user says, I'm going to check in to verify that all is good with me every increment of time, every month, every quarter, whatever it is that you choose. So you have to check in to the software. If you don't, then your account goes into a 30-day pending status. The people that you've identified get notified. Hey, grandpa hasn't checked in. Is everything okay with him? And then someone can certify, oh yeah, he's in the Maldives on vacation. He'll be back when he has cell service, But um, during those check-ins, it's a way for you as the user to validate, yes, all of this is still current, and it's a constant reminder for you. Have there been any changes? Is there any access you want to change? Are there any changes that you want to make to your setup? Here's a reminder of how you have it set up. So hopefully we're solving that problem that you're describing of access and building in enough flexibility to allow for that to change on a user by user basis over time as people's lives, evolve and change.
No, that's incredible, because I mean, like, even if you set it up quarterly and you just have to just extend it each time, and then if something happens, the phrases go to a few people and they come together to organize the funds if it's on blockchain technology. Because that's like, I'm constantly checking different things. Like, everyone is like, oh, you give it to this person, and then what happens is they can't find that person, or that person dies first without your man realizing it. And then it's like, it's so dangerous when it's on a seed phrase and you just assume it'll all come together, because normally it doesn't. And this way, it's like, it's protected, but
lose that.
Yeah, because even there's times people, they give it to people and then they fall out and then they just come together and empty your man's account as well. Everything can happen. So this kind of avoids all of that. It's excellent.
Hopefully so, yeah. But also, that being said, if someone cancels their account, we can transfer out to their wallet, and then then they're in charge of their own seed phrase for that. But until then, it's all stored in our wallet.
So what happens in a situation where, somebody's doing it all the time, and say something happens that, they get Alzheimer's or something like that, and it takes a while for people to kind of realize about the account and things like that. Is there kind of a cooling off period, or a way of kind of making sure that it just doesn't disappear?
Which part disappeared? The account disappeared?
Well, you see, if a person is paying, I seen things there's monthly, and I presume there's probably lifetime, there's probably yearly, and different things like that. But because like we talked earlier about the crash, people can get kicked out, and then their money they get wiped out. So basically, they can transfer all the things back. But there's the other option then as well, is when, like, the person maybe gets Alzheimer's and forgets about it, and the other people don't know about it. How is that navigated?
So hopefully we're solving that with we have a way to prepay, because one of the distinctions that we try to make with what we've built with Archively compared to any other sort of cloud storage is you create the documents today and you're storing it today, but really when they're needed is at some point in the future, right? So most people are doing, you started early at 26, but most people are doing this in their mid 50s, say late 50s, and they're doing their financial planning and estate planning at that point. So most likely, most people are living to mid 80s, right? Mid 90s. So you're doing all this today. Let's just call it 60 for easy math. But you really, the moment it's needed is 20 or 30 years from now. So to your point, if you store it on a traditional Dropbox or whatever, that's with the family founder's credit card. Once he passes away and those cards are locked or canceled, there goes access to everything. So it's really not about today. The moment of impact is 20 or 30 years from now. So that's another reason why we've built it on blockchain, is because of the permanence that's built into the chain that we're using. We are you can, as the user, you can prepay in 5 or 10 year increments. So if someone is setting this account up at age 70, maybe they want to prepay for 10 or 15 years. If it's earlier, then they buy a longer period of time. And what we've done, this is where one of our superpowers as the wealth management firm is that money goes into an endowment fund, which then just pays the cost of your account maintenance for that increment of time, that whatever time that you've chosen. So that sort of operates like, I don't know if it's done the same way in Europe, but in America, we have the life insurance companies, and everyone's paying in their premiums, and the life insurance company pools all that money. It's called the general account, and the life insurance company is managing the general account, and the returns of those investments are then what pay off the the proceeds of any policies that get canceled. So we're really sort of setting up our own mini general account as an endowment to pay into future generations, because in any of these solutions, in my mind, are really useless unless they're effective 30 years from now or 40 years from now. So we had to build something that is designed to last with that kind of longevity.
Brilliant, brilliant. Is there anything else that you're doing that we haven't covered?
Personally, I kind of geek out about some of the cryptographic stuff. I really like the Shamir secret sharing. That's one of my favorite pieces, because some people, that's our level 3 of security. Not everybody really wants this. Not everyone cares about it. But if there's a document you really want to lock down, that's available. So that part is, just for me personally, something that I kind of get excited and geek out about. But we'd like some feedback and advice. The next thing that I'm really kind of focused on is trying to help solve the grief part. Once we're gone, we've got whoever's left behind picking up all the logistical pieces, but they're trying to do that in the middle of the grief that they're feeling. And, for me, I want my wife and my kids to have as smooth of a transition as possible. So right now, our solution is really solving the logistical problem and a little bit of the grief with the uploaded videos and the farewells and things like that. But we're really looking for input on how we can try to help make that transition a little better. So that's the next part that I'm excited to try to build out.
Just kind of thinking as well, because what I've heard is people now are putting QR codes on the cemetery, on the headstone, but there's times where that can disappear as well. And I mean, the way that we talked about the video and everything, I think there's a better chance that it'll be safe or stored on your system when they do, because they can create the QR code and have the link to and upload the video connected to that.
Any of that, we'd love to integrate any of that kind of stuff. There's another lady that we were talking with that her business is to make those sort of in kind of a professional, like she'll send out the film crew and everything, make those farewell videos instead of just recording on your phone. Make some kind of special farewell video where it's an interview and the person is given the opportunity to talk about whatever it is that they wanted to communicate to their loved ones once they're gone, and whatever message they have. So it's meant to kind of do that, and so we're kind of talking about how we could sort of combine those two. So don't have what I consider really a good solution for that yet, but would open to ideas. Would love to be able to help people with that as well.
what I love and from what you've said is like you're just, you're going through the process now and you're just open to comments. And so all I can see is this just getting better and better. And then it's this, you go in, navigate it, and it'll even make you think of things that you didn't think of, which you can start doing.
100%.
And at the end of the day, you're basically protecting you and your loved ones.
100%.
And that's all we all want.
That's the goal. Yeah. We want to build the solution that solves real problems for real people, not what we imagine our solution is, and then looking for, okay, who would buy this product. That's why before we started building anything, we talked to 50 people just to understand. That's why I have all these stories, is because these are real stories from real people. We've talked to so many people. Tell me what happened when your dad died or your grandma died. What was the impact? How did your family react? If you could pick one magic thing that would have solved these problems, what would it be? Those kind of questions. And then we accumulated all that feedback, and then we go to talk to the estate planning attorneys and got the insights from, what are the document failures that most lead to probate court? What are the family dynamics that most lead to these disputes? And what are simple fixes? And, what are the stories? And so we've accumulated that's, we sort of don't get any credit really for what we've built already with Archively, because really all we've done is talk to real people, and they've told us what happened, and we've said, okay, how can we solve that? So our solution could only exist because of all the people that have given input. So yeah, absolutely. The more input, the better we can solve people's problems.
No, excellent. Well, I get it. I think what you've created is fantastic, and I wish you super success. You might let the listeners know where they can find you.
Thank you so much. It's archively.com, ARCHIVELY, archively.com, and we can create a special discount code, early trial discount code for your listeners, if you'd like.
Yeah, no. So what I'll do is after the call, you can send it to me. So for the listeners, I'll make sure that in the show notes, there'll be a code fee that you can use. So thank you very much, Dan.
Amazing.
So
Would love it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that's all for the crypto podcast, because based on the conversation, I'm going to put this out on a few of the shows. So you'll know yourself. And you can scan the QR code. You'll find all my shows, or go to roycoughlan.com. If you're looking for virtual assistants, go to va.world. And for this episode, I know personally a lot of the things that can be prevented would have been prevented with this system. And I think the more you share it with, the better. So I'd appreciate if you can share it with your loved ones. Until next week, take care.